Now at 5 and streaming on crossroadstoday.com, a woman in Victoria is facing 4 charges after an arrest this morning. And in Galveston, crew have shut down a bridge after a barge struck it, what we know so far this afternoon. And families are concerned after they receive reports of a power outage inside a Beeville prison.
Things are quiet today, but already we are looking at stormy weather up in the Panhandle. That is what's going to be visiting us on Thursday. We'll have the latest for you coming up.
We have the number of jobs lost due to the DEI ban at one Texas university in the chancellor's remarks. You're watching 25 News now at 5. Good afternoon and thanks for being with us. I'm Karina Garcia. Around 2 a.m. today, Victoria police tried to pull over a woman in a vehicle. Authorities say the woman did not stop and ended up crashing near North Vine Street. Police found a 2-year-old child in the back seat. Police say neither the child nor the woman was hurt. It's unclear if the child had their seatbelt fastened. Leslie Bishop is charged with DWI with a child endangerment, evading arrest or detention with a vehicle, and aggravated assault on a public servant. Now today we have District 30 candidate Jeff Bouknight in studio with us. 25 News Now anchor Don Brubaker. More. Don?
Karina, thank you and welcome back, sir.
Thank you, Don. Appreciate it.
You bet. This campaign has almost been like a marathon. It's been 5 months, 6 months almost.
This is our 7th month right now.
How do you keep the energy going because it's almost done?
Well, the campaign's always like a roller coaster. There's ups and downs, but you know, just buoyed by the visitation with citizens across the district and the positivity that's in the campaign, and just ready to finish it out with a sprint to the finish.
Mm-hmm. How is your campaign different for this runoff than it was for the primary?
I don't know that there's a big difference between it, except for the 4 candidates running in the general primary, and then just the 2 of us this runoff. But it gives you more focus. But we continue to talk about issues, plans, you know, in the future as your state rep, and just keep trying to move forward as Texas and the number one state in the nation, and just look forward to go and serve.
There have been negative campaigning on both sides. I want to find out from you, what are the voters telling you how they feel about that kind of campaigning?
Well, I think there's still some undecideds out there, so it's important to point out contrasts between opponents, while also accentuating my positives. So that's what we've tried to do during the runoff, and just show the differences in philosophies, how, you know, my record shows how I governed before and how I'd govern in the future, and I think that's the direction we've tried to take on it.
What are your biggest positives, you feel?
My biggest positives are my breadth of knowledge across a whole multitude of disciplines, and that comes from serving in the last 10 years here in Victoria and being exposed to not only issues here but also in the state through Associated Builders and Contractors when I served on their state board, and working construction issues important to the state and working with the legislature.
When you talk to voters, the biggest issue they ask you about?
The border. And right now, property taxes, which is always on everybody's mind. And then economic development is always at the forefront of people's minds, and make sure that we provide good opportunities for residents of the district.
Some legislators want Governor Abbott to call a special session this year for school funding. How big an issue do you think that is?
Well, I kind of wish they would have decoupled some of the school funding from the school choice moving through, and I think after 4 sessions, you know, it was tough to call another special session. I know interim charges were just released for both the House and the Senate, and so far, you know, with runoff still going on, and then we're going to roll into campaigns as well. I don't know if there's a special session or not, but I could understand some people feeling like we need to go address it.
All right. Mayor Bouknight, thank you so much for coming in. We appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you, Don.
All right. Karina, back to you.
Don, thank you. Reports of an extended power outage brought concern to inmate families. Families reported up to 48 hours without power inside the McConnell unit near Beeville, causing the inside temperature to reach unsafe levels. Amanda Hernandez with the Texas Department of Corrections confirmed the outage, but said the generators were activated. Other routine operations continued, like inmate visitation, recreation, and showering. Hernandez says that a partial outage on May 9th turned into a full outage on May 10th, and power was fully restored the next day. So here is your viewer poll this afternoon. You can scan that QR code right there on your screen to vote. The question is, should there be more transparency when it comes to air conditioning in state prisons? Yes or no? We want to hear from you. Come to crossroadstoday.com/vote to take part, and we're going to have an update on 25 News Now at 6. The National Weather Service has reported that a tornado hit Port Lavaca Monday. They confirmed an EF1 tornado hit that area with maximum sustained winds of 105 miles an hour. Widespread tree damage occurred along with damage to numerous structures throughout that area. Also, the National Weather Service says damaging straight line winds around 85 miles an hour happened on the south side of Port Lavaca towards Magnolia Beach Monday. An RV park suffered the worst damage there, with numerous RVs damaged or completely destroyed. So with that, let's toss it over to Chief Meteorologist Mac Bettis.
Well, thank you very much, Karina. Of course, right now we're doing very nicely, nice and sunny, and a warm day, but already, just like the forecast called for, the storms have begun in the Panhandle. You can see how they're already under a severe thunderstorm watch. That activity is going to be dropping southward and affecting our area tomorrow. So we have an alert day for tomorrow, and we'll be talking more about that coming up in a few minutes.
Mac, thank you. A bridge in Galveston is shut down after getting struck by a barge. Authorities say a barge slammed into the Pelican Island Bridge this afternoon, causing a portion of the bridge to collapse. Investigators are not yet sure what led to the accident, but they say the crash did cause an oil spill. So far, no injuries have been reported. The U.S. Coast Guard was called to help contain that spill, and Texas DOT engineers are also responding to help evaluate this situation. Universities and colleges across the state have laid off hundreds since the ban on DEI initiatives in higher education. The chancellor of the University of Texas updated the number of layoffs Tuesday while testifying before a state Senate committee hearing.
Institution audit chiefs.
Texas higher education under fire.
Every dollar spent on bloated university bureaucracy should be redeployed to ensure that all Texas students, regardless of race, are college ready and heavily recruited.
In a much anticipated Texas Senate hearing, public university systems from across the state testified about how exactly they're implementing SB 17, which is the state's ban on diversity, equity, and inclusion, and particularly whether they've gone far enough. The University of Texas at Austin and the UT system at large have drawn particular scrutiny over recent layoffs, including campus protests. Now, Chancellor James Milliken shares some of the most in-depth numbers since the DEI ban took effect in January.
We estimate that over $25 million will be saved or reallocated to other university mission-related purposes by closing 21 DEI offices, eliminating 311 full and part-time positions.
That's across all UT schools. Milliken declined to speak with this reporter for an interview, but the chancellor of Texas A&M,
if we've missed anything, we want to know so we can finish the job.
John Sharp, was more open about his support for the law.
But are you prepared to go even further and potentially comply even more with further layoffs in your system?
We're going to comply with the law. Whatever the law says, that's what we're going to apply with, just like all these other universities.
Also in discussion on Tuesday, how far universities can go to mitigate campus protests like the ones at UT Austin, resulting in more than 100 arrests. A UT law professor who testified says removing demonstrators is within the university's rights.
As long as the university policies are reasonable time, place, and manner restrictions, then it does not violate the First Amendment for the university to enforce them.
As for whether or not these universities will be expected to go further on regulating their faculty, that remains unclear.
The House Public Education Committee is also expected to look into the DEI ban and how universities are enforcing it. Pro-Palestinian protesters snarled traffic during this morning's rush hour in Houston. Traffic backed up on the I-60 East Loop from demonstrators blocking the entrance into the Port of Houston. A sign read, "We refuse to live in a genocidal world." Another had a Palestinian flag and read, "Block all channels to genocide." The blockade included vehicles, and Houston police worked with Port Police and security to remove these vehicles obstructing the entrance. Here are some of the top headlines you can read in the Port Lavaca Wave. Port Lavaca residents will have a chance to get rid of their unwanted items in the city's Sweep into Spring program on May 17th and 18th. Plus, 2 Calhoun County residents were recognized in the Texas Conversation Awards for implementing the best conservation management practices. You can read these stories and more at theportlavacawave.com. Now, the runoff election is right around the corner. On the ballot, you'll see the District 30 runoff race between former Victoria Mayor Jeff Bauchnite, who was just in studio, and former Jackson County Sheriff A.J. Louderback, both campaigning for the seat of state representative. Voters will also choose between Shannon Martin and Brad Tucker for Victoria County Commissioner in Precinct 3. We spoke with some voters out in Cuero about their top priorities for the Crossroads.
Definitely the border issues, property taxes. I know that's a big issue. I think those are the 2 biggest ones right now. So
I think the economy, definitely, even though it's a little bit better in Texas, we're all affected by the inflation, the out of control insurance prices, the out of control rental prices. It makes it very hard.
Early voting for the May 20th runoff election starts next Monday, May 20th, and early voting takes place at the Dr. Patty Dotson Public Health Center, 2805 North Navarro, Classroom A. Early voting hours are next Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And so take a look at the screen right there so you can have a closer look at these dates one last time. Now remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. Hit the like button and click that notification bell. For now, stay with us. One arrest has been made in the fatal bus crash in Central Florida, killing 8 people. Straight ahead on 25 News Now at 5, the charges the suspect is facing. Also ahead, wildfires continue to burn in Canada, bringing air quality alerts into parts of the United States. Central Florida, the truck driver in the fatal bus crash that killed 8 people and left 45 others hurt appeared in court this morning. Police say around 6:30 a.m. the truck veered toward the center lane, or rather lined, and the vehicles collided in a side-swept manner. The bus then traveled off the roadway through a fence, struck a tree, and then overturned. A 41-year-old Brian Howard is charged with 8 counts of driving under the influence, manslaughter. Today, the judge denied his bond. His next court date is scheduled for June 18th. Preliminary data from the CDC showed that last year, drug overdose deaths were down for the first time in 5 years. 3,500 fewer people died from drug overdoses in 2023 than the year before. Still, overdose deaths in 2023 were almost twice as high as they were 5 years ago, due to a steep rise in overdose deaths during the COVID-19 pandemic that was largely driven by fentanyl. A study shows a surge in the amount of fentanyl seized by law enforcement recently. Now in 2023, more than 115 million pills containing fentanyl were seized. In health news, several types of high blood pressure in the lungs disproportionately affect women, and experts warn that this dangerous condition is often misdiagnosed.
It's a condition that causes the blood vessels in a person's lungs to narrow and thicken. Pulmonary hypertension is a progressive disease. One severe form, pulmonary arterial hypertension, can lead to heart failure and death.
The earlier you can detect a disease, the earlier you can treat it and you can prevent it from worsening.
Dr. Tim Lom with National Jewish Health says it's important for women to know the risk and the symptoms of the disease, which include shortness of breath, fatigue, weight gain, swelling of the abdomen or lower extremities, chest pain, and irregular heartbeat, all of which Lom says are nonspecific and could be dismissed or misdiagnosed as another condition.
Providers think patients have more common entities such as asthma or sometimes even anxiety. So misdiagnosis is very common. And again, that's a problem because we're dealing with a disease that is progressive. If left untreated, things will get worse.
Lom says there are about 15 FDA-approved drugs to treat this disease, and a novel medication was also just approved. But work is still being done to develop targeted therapies to prevent or stop the disease from progressing.
It is treatable, and we really encourage patients to seek medical care as soon as possible.
For Health Minute, I'm Andy Gaither.
Air quality alerts are in effect for parts of the Midwest, Northeast, and Great Plains today as smoke from Canadian wildfires drifts south. Several blazes are burning in that country, and some are threatening homes. Tens of thousands of acres are scorched from a fire in British Columbia, leading to thousands of evacuations. In Alberta, residents are under evacuation orders because their homes are, of course, at risk. Now, here's some of the top headlines you can read in the Cuero Record. The community comes together to celebrate the life of Arthur Whittington. Plus, a Cuero native, Jacob Cuellar, graduates as a second lieutenant in the U.S. Marine Corps. Read these stories and more at DeWittCountyToday.com.
And good afternoon, everyone. You're going to be seeing clouds thicken up overnight and into tomorrow as we expect stormy weather to start rolling in. Right now, we're at a rather toasty 87 as a high temperature. Let's see what came in. 90 was our official high. We'll be on the warm side tomorrow, but then once the rain comes in, we'll be looking obviously at dropping those temperatures. So we'll have all of that coming up right after this. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Things are going to be very different for tomorrow, which is your Thursday. You'll notice how, well, first of all, we get the sea breeze, and you can see the clouds sort of rolling in from the coast. But all this stuff is high-level cloud cover coming in from the west, and that gives you an idea of how strong the winds are blowing aloft the higher levels across Texas. You can see it right there. Now already the big stuff has begun in the Panhandle as that storm I was promising you is now rolling into the Rockies, and as you can see, we're divided between two storms. Here's the one that brought us the Monday stuff. This is the good stuff right now, and then here's the next system that will be rolling across the state and giving us the stormy weather for tomorrow. So let's take a look at it. Doppler image, obviously not picking up anything around here, but there you go. Panhandle already under a severe thunderstorm watch. Big storms are firing right about now. Big one coming into, well, it would be Borger, Texas, way up there north of Amarillo. And you can see how this stuff's lining up. And slowly but surely it's going to be crossing the state. Already much of East Texas is under a flood watch because they got so much rain last time. Now they're going to get more rain on top of that. So we're looking at Future Tracker. We're trying to figure out, okay, what's going to happen to us in the next 48 hours. And so we go forward, 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 forward. And it tells me right about there that we are going to be picking up some heavy rain. So we're looking at over an inch to maybe up to 1 to 2 inches basically, and some areas obviously to the south may get a little bit less, and the real heavy stuff is going to be up north again in East Texas that really doesn't need any real stormy weather right now. Now here's today, and you can see that orange area, it's right on top of where the storms are occurring. We have a chance, but this would be probably later overnight, that's to start picking up a little thunder shower activity out to the west. Now this is tomorrow, and now the slight risk of severe weather occurs from pretty much, well, let's see, West Texas, Central Texas, all the way to East Texas, getting very close to our area. So we'll be seeing some of that activity rolling around here. I don't know that everybody's going to get rain. I don't think it's going to be as massive as what we saw on Monday. Nonetheless, these storms are going to be big, and we're going to have to watch them. Now, on Friday, a lot of things starts pulling away. The big stuff goes out into Louisiana, and we have a little lingering activity here. But by and large, that's going to be clearing out on Friday. And then beginning on Saturday, we've got a pretty good looking weekend. We'll talk about that in a minute. 88, the forecast high tomorrow, knocking it down a little bit because of the cloud cover and the rain. Still near 100 out along the Rio Grande. And then we'll take a look at, Future Tracker one more time. Here's Austin, here's Victoria, all right? You see how we go to Wednesday, and then we go on into Thursday morning, and then you can see the big cluster starting across central Texas. There's Austin, there's Victoria. We're in some sort of rain activity here, but the severest weather will be to the north of us. And then by Thursday night, it all begins to push. And on Friday, things will be improving slowly but surely as we get to the weekend. For tomorrow, scattered thunderstorms up to about 86 at the coast. More thunderstorms, inland areas as well. About 84 inland. And then here's the funny part. After being an alert day for rain, Sunday the warm weather arrives with a little bit of a heat wave for pretty much all of next week. So let's get ready for that. That's your 7-day forecast, reminding everybody we do have a QR code. Love for you to scan that, put Crossroads Today on your phone. And here's Karina.
Thank you, Matt. Coming up next on 25 News Now at 5, we're going to take a look at your stocks. Plus, streaming giant Spotify has been hit with a cease and desist letter. The details coming up. Taking a look at your stocks, the Dow up 350 points, the S&P 500 up 61 points, and the Nasdaq up 231 points. Oil up 61 cents, closing at $78.63 per barrel. The National Music Publishers Association sent a cease and desist letter to Spotify, accusing them of hosting content without having proper licenses. They demanded Spotify to remove the unlicensed material or, quote, face copyright liability for continued use of these works. Earlier, Billboard said Spotify would pay roughly $150 million less in royalties than what some songwriters and publishers had expected. A Spotify spokesperson called the cease and desist letter, quote, a press stunt filled with false and misleading claims. And stay with us. We're going to take one last look at your forecast with Mac. Plus, a cricket invasion was caught on camera. Plus, here's a look at world news tonight, right after 25 News Now at 5.
Tonight, Israel's determination to destroy Hamas. The civilians in the crossfire as nearly 500,000 flee Rafah. Can they be protected? More Americans turn to World News Tonight with David Muir, the most watched newscast on television.
Crickets were caught on video invading an elementary school in Nevada on Monday. A swarm was seen crawling over the exterior of the school and on the sidewalks. The bugs are usually gone by early August and typically leave an area in a couple of days. However, they can wreak havoc when they take over. They eat their way through crops, causing damage and economic loss for farmers, so it can get deadly. And they also create road hazards when pavement becomes slick after they get crushed under those tires. They're also mobile and can travel up to a mile a day. There's some pretty fast little critters there.
I remember in my early days in high school, the crickets would cover the sidewalk and the door.
No.
And you had to crunch through them just to get inside the classroom.
Oh, no, that crunch.
Oh, yeah, real slimy stuff.
Don't stop it. Let's move to weather immediately.
You bet. All right, tomorrow is Thursday, and tomorrow is an alert day because I think we're going to have some severe thunderstorms rolling through the area. Will it be like Monday? It'll be close, but maybe not as big. However, by Friday, a lot of that pulls away, and then we've got a good-looking weekend with a bit of a heat wave for next week.
Alrighty, thank you, Mac. And thank you for being with us. We hope to see you back here tonight for 25 News Now at 6. World News Tonight with David Muir is up next.